Today we're doing math pages 139, 140, 141, and 142. John 14:6 says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. And Jesus said that. So we'll go ahead and get started on 139. And these are all review pages. And the class practice number 1, it's telling us to list the multiples in order. Find the least common multiple, the LCM. Okay, so multiples of 3, we've got 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. And then remember dot, dot, dot means, of course there's more, but we'll stop there. It continues on, but we'll stop at 15, because that's how many blanks they've given us. And then 4, we have 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. And so our lowest common multiple of 3 and 4 will be 12. It's the lowest number that both 3 and 4 go into. B, 5, 10, 15, dot, 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 10, 20, 30, and our LCM is, well, there's a 10 there and a 10 there. That's our lowest common multiple, 10. Our lowest common multiple of 5 and 10 is 10. C, 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, dot, 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 9, 18, 27, 36, 45, dot, dot, dot. And so our LCM of 6 and 9 would be 18. Notice that 18 is the lowest number that is in here and in here. D, multiples of 8 are 8, 16, 24. Multiples of 12 are 12, 24, 36. And so our LCM, our lowest common multiple, would be 24. Because we have a 24 here and a 24 here. Okay, it says list in order the multiples of 7. 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, 49, 56, 63, 70, 77. All right, number 3 tells us to change the improper fractions. We have 13 over 7, and so what we need to do is figure out how many times 7 goes into 13. 7 goes into 13 one time, with how many left over? 6. Over, and since there's a 7 on bottom, you keep that on the bottom. So you get 1 6/7. 1 6/7. B, how many times does 6 go into 12? It goes in evenly 2 times, and that's it. There's nothing left over. 4 goes into 9 2 times with 1 left over. So you get 2 1/4. 5 goes into 25 5 times. Last one's kind of hard. You got to think 9 times 9 is 81. So it's almost 81. So it's probably going to be 8. Let's do it here though. 9 80. 9 doesn't go into 8, but it does go into 80. Now we know 9 times 9 is 81, so that's too much. So let's try 8. 9 times 8 is 72. We subtract and we get 8. So we get 8 and 8/9. I took this bottom number, I put it on top. I took the divisor and I put it on bottom. The first story problem. Charles Finney is thought by many to be the greatest evangelist since the apostles. An evangelist, guys, is somebody who shares the good news, tells people about Jesus Christ. Of the people under his preaching who confessed salvation, 85 out of 100 remained true to God. Meaning, people who got saved or who said they got saved, out of every 100 people, about 85 of them continued to follow God. It says to reduce 85 over 100 to the lowest term. So we got to figure out our greatest common factor for 85 and 100. What is the highest number that goes into both 85 and 100? Well, I know that 5 goes into both. Any number that ends in a 5 or a 0, 5 goes into it. And both of these end in a 5 and then in a 0. So 5 goes into 85 how many times? I'm going to let you know. 5 goes into 85 17 times. And 5 goes into 100 20 times. So we have a reduced fraction of 17 over 20. 17 over 20. Okay, let's look at B. The Apostle Paul was a tent maker. Suppose he had materials these lengths: 1 3/4 yards, 2 1/4 yards, 3 3/4 yards, and 2 3/4 yards. What was the total length? So the total length, we need to add these up. So we have 1 3/4, then 2 1/4, then 3 3/4, and 2 3/4. Let's add all these up. I'm going to do our denominator of 4 right here. Now I go 3 plus 1, that's 4, plus 3 more is 7, plus 3 more is 10. I'm going to add up my whole numbers. 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 3 more is 6, plus 2 more is 8. Now we have 8 and 10/4, so I'm going to rewrite it over here so I have room to work. 10 over 4 is an improper fraction. We have to make that proper. So we need to ask, how many times does 4 go into 10? 4 goes into 10 2 times. So that 2 we're going to add to our 8. So 8 plus 2 would be 10. And how many were left over? When we said 4 goes into 10, well, it goes in 2 times. 2 times 4 is 8, so you have 2 left over. This will be 2 over our original 4. That's reduced. That's made proper, but now we need to reduce it. What goes into both 2 and 4? 2 goes into both. 2 goes into 2 one time, and 2 goes into 4 2 times. We get 10 and a half. 10 and a half for our answer. A lot of work to figure out that answer. C. It says Michael Faraday, an English scientist, believed that studying science teaches us more about God. Faraday conducted scientific studies for 54 years at the Royal Institution in London. Then it says to circle the numbers 54 is a multiple of. So let's start with looking at 2. Does 2 go into 54? I'm going to tell you a little trick with 54. Any number that ends in a 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8, if it ends in that, then it is a multiple of 2. 54 ends in 4, and we have a 4 here, so that tells us that 2 is a multiple of 54. Now the next one's asking, does 3 go into 54? To know if 3 goes into a number, you take the number, so we have 54, and you add up the digits that it contains. Well, it has a 5 and a 4, and when we add that up, we get 9. Does 3 go into 9 evenly? Yes, it does. So what that tells us is 3 is a multiple of 54 also. Okay, our next number, 4. I'm just going to write it out for 4. Does 4 go into 54? I know that 4 times 10 is 40. That's an easy one for me to remember. Well, 4 more would be 44. 4 more than that would be 48. 4 more than that would be 52. 4 more than that would be 56. So it doesn't go in evenly. And if you worked it out here, 4 goes into 5 one time. Subtract. Get 1, bring down to 14. 4 goes into 14. Bring down to 4. 4 goes into 14 3 times. That'd be 12. And we end up with the remainder here. And so what that means is 4 is not 1, and we don't circle it. Let's look at 5 now. The rule for 5 is the number has to end in a 0 or a 5 in order for it to be a multiple of 5. Well, 54 ends in a 4, and that's not 0 nor is it 5, so 5 is not 1. Let's look at 6 now. Well, we all know what 6 times 10 is. 6 times 10 is 60. Now, if you did 6 less, what is 6 times 9? 6 times 9 is 54. So that we know, looking at that, we know that 6 times 9 is 54, so 6 is a multiple of 54. What about 7? Does 7 go into 54 evenly? Well, I know that 7 times 9 is 56. 7 times 7 is 49, so it misses it. So 7 times 9 is not, or 7 is not a multiple of 54. Does 8 go into 54 evenly? Well, I know that 8 times 6 is 48, and 8 times 7 is 56, so no, it doesn't go into that. What about 9? Well, 9 times 6 is 54, so 9 does go into it evenly. So you should have circled the 2, the 3, the 6, and the 9. The 2, the 3, the 6, and the 9. Let's go ahead and look at the back side of the paper. Number 7, it says to write each remainder as a fraction, reduce the fraction if necessary. So first they're asking how many times 1/9 of 30. So we're dividing 30 by 9. Nine goes into 30 3 times. 3 times 9 would give us 27. And so when we subtract, we get 3. So we get 3. This 3 will go on top. 3 and 3. This 9 will go on the bottom. 3 and 3/9. Now that can be reduced to what goes into both 3 and 9? 3 does. 3 goes into 3 one time. 3 goes into 9 3 times. So we get 3 and 1/3. 3 and 1/3. We'll look at B. And we're saying how many times does 6 go into 43? Now 6 goes into 43 7 times. 6 times 7 is 42. We get 1. The 1 will go on top, and the 6 right here will go on the bottom. And that's completely reduced, so we're done. C, 8 into 54. 8 goes into 54 6 times. 6 times 8 is 48. So when we subtract, we get 6. So that 6 will go on top, and this 8 will go on the bottom. Now that can be reduced to 6. What goes into 6 and 8? What's your greatest common factor? The greatest number that goes into 6 and 8? Well, 2. 2 goes into 6 3 times. 2 goes into 8 4 times. And we're left with 6 and 3/4. 6 and 3/4. Number 8 tells us to mark under the linear measures. See, linear is your length. And remember, there is also weight we learned about. We're talking about linear length. A bushel, that'd be weight. So we're not talking about that. Quart would be your liquid measure, capacity measure. Foot. Oh, a foot would be length, so let's mark in that one. Kilometer would be length. Let's mark in that one. A gram, that'd be weight. An inch, that'd be length. And so would a yard. So you should have filled in foot, kilometer, inch, and yard. Go ahead and look at the next page now. So we're looking at 141. And it's telling us to do the multiples here. We're going to fill out this chart. If possible, find the least common multiple without completing the entire chart. So it's saying, see if you can figure out the least common multiple without doing the whole chart. So let's do some multiples of 6. 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. We'll stop there. Dot, dot, dot. Okay, multiples of 8 would be 8, 16, 24. Now there's where we could stop. We don't have to fill out the whole chart. We've got 24 here. So 24 is a common multiple, and it's also going to be our least common multiple. As soon as you see there's one that matches. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, I'll do dot, 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 and then 4. 4, 8, 12. Oh, I see a 12 here, so I'm going to do dot, dot, dot. 12 is common. So it'll be our common multiple, and it's also our lowest common multiple, our least common multiple. They've already done the third section for us, and we'll go ahead and do the next one. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, ... 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, ... And 15, we got 15, 30, 45. I'll stop there because I already see one that's in all three. 15 is. Number 2, it says, give the least common multiple for each. Try to find the answers mentally. Okay, 3 and 6. See if you guys can put down what you think the answer is. For 3 and 6, what's your lowest common multiple? Would be 6. It's the lowest number that they both go into. We're not talking about factors here, but multiples. Okay, B, what's the lowest number 5 and 7 both go into? See if you can write it down. Think of it, and I'll tell you the answer if you don't think of it here in a second. 5 and 7, they both go into 35. Okay, go ahead and see if you can figure out what C is. What does 2 and 8 both go into? 2 and 8 both go into 8. That's the lowest number they both go into. Okay, 4 and 6. What's the lowest number that 4 and 6 goes into? 12. Okay, E, what's the lowest number that 2 and 3 go into? The lowest number that 2 and 3 go into is 6. F, write down what you think the lowest number 3 and 5 goes into. The lowest number that 3 and 5 goes into is 15. Okay, see if you can do G, H, and I right now. G is really hard, so if that one seems hard, you can skip it. Try to do H and I. Okay, I'll do I first. I is 9. H is 30. And if you were able to do G, that was really good. G was 120. 120. Let's look at story problem 3A. Alexandria made 24 quarts of lemonade. How many gallons did she make? How many pints did she make? Well, we know that there's 4 quarts in a gallon, so we need to divide 24 by 4 to figure out a first answer, and that would be 6 gallons. That would be the first answer. But they asked us 2 questions. How many pints did she make? Well, there's 2 pints in every quart, so that one we need to do 24 times 2. We get 48 pints. Okay, B, Morgan must ride his bike 5/8 of a mile to Bayberry Christian School. Caleb rides his bike for 3/8 a mile. And then it's asking, how much farther must Morgan ride than Caleb? So we got to subtract this number. 5/8 minus 3/8. I'm running out of room here, but 5 minus 3 would be 2/8. Now we can reduce that. What goes into both 2 and 8? 2 does. 2 goes into 2 one time, 2 goes into 8 4 times. So our answer is 1/4 mile farther. 1/4 of a mile farther. Okay, number 4 says to add carefully. We'll do 4a here. 4 is our denominator. 3 plus 1 would be 4. We get 4 over 4. Remember, any number over itself is the same as 1. So 1 is our answer. Okay, b. 8 is our denominator. 5 plus 7 would be 12. So we have an improper fraction. We need to make it proper. 8 goes into 12 one time with 4 left over. So we get 1 and 4/8. So we made it proper, but now we need to reduce it. 4 will go into both 4 and 8. 4 will go into 4 one time. 4 will go into 8 two times. And we get 1.5. Okay, C. 5 is our denominator. 3 plus 4 would be 7. That's improper, so we need to make it proper. 5 goes into 7 one time with 2 left over, and then that 5 just gets moved over. D. Let's add up our fractions first. 3 plus 2 is 5. And 5 plus 9 is 14. We get 14 and 5/11. 14 and 5/11. Okay, number 5 on the back side, it says to circle the fractions that are in lowest terms. So which ones can't be reduced? That can't be reduced. This one can be reduced, so we don't circle that. 3/4, that can't be reduced anymore. 1/7, that can't be reduced anymore. 4/8, that can be reduced, so we don't circle that. 12/14, that can be reduced, so we don't circle that. 3/9, that can be reduced, so we don't circle that. 5/12, that can't be reduced anymore, so we do circle that. 15/20, that can be reduced, so we don't circle that. And same with 6/9, that can be reduced, so we don't circle that. So you've only circled half, 3/4, 1/7, and 5/12. Okay, on the averaging, you'll have to add those up and then divide it by 3, since there's 3 numbers. Same over here, you'll add them up and then divide it by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So whatever answer you get, you then divide it by 6, and that would be your answer. And then, let's do these. These are kind of easy and fun. 4 times what equals 12? 4 times 3 equals 12. So if you do a times 3 there, you need to do a times 3 here. 3 times 3 is 9, and your answer is 9/12. 8 times what equals 16? 8 times 2 is 16. So if you do a times 2 there, you got to do a times 2 here. 7 times 2 is 14. Okay, I'm going to do something a little different with you guys than we normally do. Okay, you're going to have the choice. Either you're going to finish up page 139, 140, or you're going to finish up page 141, 142. You only have to do one page. So whichever one you want to do, it's up to you. And I know you guys are smart. You'll figure out which one to do, and you'll do the page. It will be easy for you because you guys are such smart cookies. You guys are such smart cookies.